What's good, y'all? So I haven't did one of these in a while, but this is something that I've been wanting to get to. I know I did the one about D Rose sometime last year. So everybody right? Hold on. Everybody that we think that when the Knicks were playing the Pistons right before Game 7, right? They leaked. The NBA leaked. The finals preview, the Eastern Conference finals previews with the Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks, right? So this is something like a matchup that they wanted to see. First of all, market-wise, So New York is the biggest market, that's in the United States, following L.A., Chicago, Miami, these are big marketplaces, So New York is about due for one. I believe the last time New York won a championship, if I'm not mistaken, 71 or 2, maybe, I don't even know. I think the Lakers, it was in the 70s with the Willis Reed, when, the New York Knicks. I'm not even sure. I don't know if Oscar Roberts did. I think he was mid. Well, I'm not sure, but it was the 70s. So New York is due for a championship. So now that I'm older, you can kind of, you have to be older. You have to kind of look back and start putting the pieces together. Like, you know what? It makes sense. Now, what confirmed it for me is the fact that how can you leak, a preview? And I noticed this back in the day when the Bulls used to play. Like, after the Bulls would win, they like, yeah, Bulls, Pacer, Eastern Conference Finals. Right after the Bulls win. Like the Bulls will win, and I'm talking about it might be an hour or two later. They got this made already. Now of course, it's they're $1 billion industry, so yeah, they can have people do that. It's not hard, But I'm just the fact that you already have this leaked. Right? The fact that you had this leak, and I don't know if somebody did it purposely or AI went bad or, I have no idea, right? But a lot of people lost money, with the Vegas. Remember, it's a lot of gambling, so I don't know how that went, with Fandor, and, I don't gamble. So I know one thing, that the NBA is rigged. Now, see, it had to be about market. Remember, back in the 90s. So back in the 90s, 80s or whatever, the NBA was kind of sort of, I say, more realistic. Or it was, to be believed, I think, during that time, more realistic. Like, for instance, you got wrestling, right? When you do the world-class wrestling, and then it came to WWF, WWE, it started changing over the course of time. Now, how Hogan coming out and, yeah, Mean Gene, WrestleMania, what you gonna do when the host will come on you? And you got Macho Man Randy Savage. What I'm saying, Mean Gene, with WrestleMania get here, what I'm gonna do. So all that was good, as a kid, wrestling, the WrestleMania was bigger than the Super Bowl. If anybody didn't know, WrestleMania was the biggest event out in sports back in the 80s, early 80s. I'm talking about they made, a ton of money. Now, so that's kind of, and I think Roger Dale, I don't know, I think my man, right, he been caught, doing some scandals too, they look up my man history, but it was something, I watched it, I'm not sure where I was at, I think I was, I'm not sure, but it's called The Dark Side of Wrestling. You can kind of look that up somewhere. What they was telling me, they saying that they choose their champion. I'm going to say it again. They choose their champion. So it had to, the wrestlers was kind of whistleblowers. And they was talking like, they said on one of them that this referee didn't want to count this certain wrestler out because he was scared of him. And so they had to scramble to find the ref that'll come in there and do the 3 count. 1, 2, 3. And they say as soon as he did that, he rolled over and ran his ass up out that building. Because it's like, with Hulk Hogan, that's why he reigned so long. The Hulkamania was a brand. He fight the Andre the Giant, and he losing the whole round, and then he body slam him, and then get on top of it. It's the 3 count. It's like it was like you just believed this as a child, but then when you watch this dark side of wrestling, it started telling you that they choose their champion. They chose The Rock. They chose the Hitman Hart. They chose Stone Mountain. Stone Cold. Then they chose what's buddy's name? The Undertaker. So when you choose your champion, you saying that it's not authentic. It's just like, again, when you go to boxing. So when you go to boxing, and I'm telling you facts, with Muhammad Ali, they had Sonny Liston take a dive. You can just look at that through the blogs if you do your research. So when Muhammad Ali, when he was standing over Sonny Liston, when he was still Cassius Clay and he had his hands up, they said it was a fake knockout. But the mob get to you, and they was doing some betting. That's the reason Muhammad Ali, he had to go hang out with Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam, because they was his protection. So when the Nation of Islam fell out with Malcolm X, although Malcolm X was his close friend, he had to side with the Nation of Islam. They the one gave him the name Muhammad Ali. The Nation of Islam did, but they told the mob, like, look, get up off, buddy, because we about that. Because they were trying to control Ali, saying, hey, we need you to take a dive right here, and, he wasn't trying to do that. Because they got millions and millions of dollars, invested in this, this scam, So from wrestling to, boxing, and then, with all these, remember the Pete Rose, is that Pete Rose? When he was gambling, he got banned for baseball. I want to believe I know it was Pete. I ain't a baseball fan, but remember that scandal came out. So it's going from sports to sports to sports. So why not the NBA? Now, and that's what leads me up to the top of that hand. We just recently, not even a week ago, saw that the Cavs versus the Pistons Game 7 before Eastern Conference Finals before Game 7 was even played. You already leaked that, and I don't know who did it, but I have the video, and so happens the Cavs do go on to win at this point. So they want New York now. Today, current New York swept the Cavs. Swept, but they didn't win one game. And who they got over there? They got Bronson. I was looking at something with the NBA to where they were saying David Stern was saying something like, hey, if we're not gonna have any tactics. I believe, I want to say it was one of them dudes. I want to say, was it Dennis Rodman? Like, if he do anything, he's out of here. They had some people from China or something coming over. I guess this David Stern, he had guesses, and he like, hey, if anything happened, I want y'all to call fouls. I want you to keep an eye on Dennis Rodman. If he do anything, give him a foul, get him out of here. Like, we not have, it's a lot of, they telling the ref how to call the game. So, this is, again, you can, don't take my word. This stuff you can actually, look up and see. And so you found the deep rabbit hole, right? Remember Rasheed Wallace, him and Buzzy Wells was doing the podcast, and he's like, I told you, because one of the referees got caught in a scandal, saying he was corrupt. And Rasheed Wallace, again, this stuff you can go see. They said when he got the call, he was like doing a boat trip. He was in the middle of the ocean or something. And they kept calling his phone, and they like, turn the news on. And he said that, he like, yeah, I told y'all. Man, I told you he was crooked, he was corrupt. He called him, bogus fouls on me and this and that. Rasheed Wallace say, man, they had it for him. and he stood on it, And so, all this is before the game 7 was leaked. The Cavs versus the Nets. I'm gonna tell you something. This is my prediction, right? This is my prediction. Today's what? May what? Memorial Day, May whatever, May 24th, 25th. My predictions, they don't give it to the New York Nets. Why? Because New York is a big market. They do for it. Now, reason why I said they can't, because I believe they got the Spurs coming out I believe they got the Spurs coming out the West. I think they want to give it to Wemby, right? But not right now, because it's too early. He only his second season. It's too early. The only person that did that was Magic Johnson coming out of high school, winning the championship, playing center for Kareem. That's the only person that I can remember. But, again, we talk about 80s. Things changed now. So I guess you got to get a season in. So Wemby don't be the new face. That's like they gave it to Jokic for a couple of years, right? I think they want to give it to Wemby, but not right now. He's a marketable guy, but not right now. It's not his time. So I think they're going to make him wait another year or two, right? But right now, they got to give it to New York because of the market, because they losing money. The NBA losing money. Keep that in mind. They're losing money. So you have to give it to New York. That's a big market. We can make a shitload of money. With New York being the world champs, because New York, they're gonna come out. New York gonna do it big. So now, when you come back, sorry, I'm hoarse. I got a cold. So now when you double back and you starting to look at how things was done with the Bulls. So now, understand, the Bulls won, 91, 92, 93. Michael Jordan is told to lose that game against the Phoenix Suns with Charles Barkley, right? He don't lose, and now, months later, his dad come up missing or unalive, right? Everybody know that. Jordan retired, go play baseball. Now, again, what we know is that Jordan was told to take a dive. He did not do it because Jordan want to win. He said he's not going to do that. He didn't really understand, the nation of the business, right? He's still young, Jordan's still in his 20s or something. So he ain't really understand the nation of, like, hey, I ain't going to do this. But then when his dad was murdered, it's like, wow, it got real. So then, I guess to revive Jordan, he went another 3. The NBA catered to him. He's the face of the NBA. Remember, when you're the face of something, they have to cater to you. So Michael, now I'm not taking nothing from Michael Jordan. Clearly not. But he's the face of the NBA. We're gonna let him do another 3-peat. You know what I'm saying? He do the 3-peat. Now at the 3-peat, they breaking up the Bulls, everything. What we didn't know during the time of his '98 season, that he was filming The Last Dance. Nobody knew. Well, people knew that. We didn't know that as, the average Joe that's looking at NBA. We didn't know that he was filming The Last Dance. So if you film The Last Dance, you have to win or it's useless. You can't lose against Indiana and in the Eastern Conference Finals. It don't become The Last Dance, because The Last Dance means it's kind of like, hey, he Mike Tyson knock out this guy and retire. He's undefeated. Like that's kind of a last stand heroic, asset. And we know that the last shot was heroic, right? It all looked good for the camera. Boom. Now, you can't do the last dance if you don't get past Indiana. Go back and watch the Indiana game. The Bulls was losing. Like 16 points in the fourth quarter, right? And yes, Michael Jordan willed his way back in. He was down. We will win game 7. Remember them words, right? The better team that year was Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers, if you play real basketball, they was younger, they was quicker, they was better that year, hands down. Like I'm saying, outside Jordan and a few more people, man for man, Indiana was better. Then they said they had Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose was killing, right? And he had to get taken out the game. Remember, he's killing. He's on the road. They can't do nothing with him. He's young. He hungry. he was taking out the game. Let's go back and watch the game. You know what I'm saying? Game 7. Look at how Jalen Rose was taking out the game after he was killing. He didn't get back in the game. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, again, it's what Bird say, hey, that's the NBA, you know, politics. And he retired after that, you know. So in filming The Last Dance, you have to make the Bulls win because it's a storyline. You understand? The NBA's just setting a storyline. You know, they market like Mike commercials and, you know, everything with the Jordan. You know, they gave, you know, they put the Bulls on TV every single time they played. And they wasn't even the best team in the NBA, not even the East. You know, they was getting murdered by Detroit and Boston, you know, and the Knicks was, you know what I'm saying, it was a coin toss of who would win that game. So they wasn't a better team, but Michael Jordan facing the NBA. So that he's got to be splattered all across. I don't care, anytime he play, he's there. Christmas, every Christmas game, he's there. You know, the Bulls are playing. And I'm telling you something that I watch and grew up with, not looking at YouTube. But, you know, so they choose, they night they came. We know at first they knighted, you know, the Lakers versus Celtics. That was the, you know, who saved the NBA. You know, Magic Johnson, he had a $20 million contract, $1 million a year for $20 million, unheard of now. But we understand that, you know, back then that was a lot of money. NBA players was only getting, you know, 200,000-300,000. You know, so $1 million a year. That was the biggest contract thus far until Glenn Robinson took that $70 million that Garnett came with $100. But I'm just saying the contracts during that time, you know, so that $1 million a year in the 80s was unheard of, you know. But you know, so you got to look at it like after Magic Bird, they knighted Jordan. After they knighted Jordan, after his run, you know what I'm saying, here come Kobe. You know, they kind of give it to Kobe, but temporarily. You know what I'm saying? Kobe, he's kind of a clone of Mike. So now we still need somebody. So that's when LeBron came in. Back, we're going to choose our king. See, they wanted to choose Lenny Cook. Lenny Cook was the man, but he wasn't a marketable guy. You know, remember, he was the number one player in the country. And, you know, but he taking money at Rutgers game, people buying him trucks, and he didn't have a mindset. Like, he was kind of like slow. You know, Lenny Cook was slow. You know, like, yeah, man, hey, you my homie, man. Listen to me, man. I'm going to give you $100,000. When you make it, man, just remember me. And he, all right, my man, that's cool. Hey, man, yeah, we better do this. Like, he in there buying Hummers, and, you know, that's why when they looked at that Hummer for D Rose, you know, his mama had to go through hell to see where that money come from. Like, boy, you a poor nigga in the hood. Where you getting money for a Hummer? Oh, yeah, you know, this, my lawyer did it, and here's the paperwork, and this is my mama name. And so a lot of that stuff went on, you know, because they understand if you taking money before you even make it, then you'll be the same one that take a dive. The blue chip, the blue chips, you know, effect. And so, pretty much, man, you know, that Last Dance was rigged. Indiana, and I'm going to say it today, was supposed to beat the Bulls. The referees weren't allowed. You know, they started taking, you know, certain baskets away, like the Travis Best 3. And I don't think that was Game 7, but during that Game 7, the Bulls was down 16, you know, in the fourth quarter. Indiana was a better team. They was quicker. Travis Best was going to the hole, laying the ball up. They couldn't do nothing with him. He was super quick. Jalen Rose destroying them. Reggie Miller hitting the three. Then you got Rich Smith, you know what I'm saying, the Dutchman. He down there killing. You know what I'm saying? He's 7'4", you know, against, you know, Luke Loney, 7'2", and not Luke Loney, Will Perdue. Was it? Wasn't Luke Loney. Luke Loney, he was killing his ass. And then, you know, you had over there Dale Davis and Antonio Davis, the Davis brothers. They killing on the rebound. You know, Derek McKee, you know what I'm saying? Nice mid-range, the first Rick Hammond shooting the mid-range. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that was my team. You know, then who they got on the point? Mar Jackson. You hear me? Young Mar Jackson, bang, 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 bang. You know what I'm saying? Rutgers finest. You hear me? Let's make it make sense. They had a better team. On to their bench. I think Crozier, 3-point specialist. Boom. You know what I'm saying? That's who I play with. When we play NBA 2K, that's who I play with. I know them boys like the back of my hand. It was killing. Couldn't do nothing with me. I remember the starting lineup. Red Smith, Dale Davis, Derek McKee, Reggie Miller, and Mar Jackson. That's the lineup. Then you got the bench. The Travis Best, also Crozier, Jalen Rose. We was that they were supposed to beat them point blank, but they had to no, the Bulls is going to win this. This is Michael Jordan's last run. He's going to retire after this. They got the script that's already made. So the last dance is not authentic if you read Game 7. If you read Game 7. And so now, you start changing rules in the NBA. The rules has changed because from, you can't fight. If you elbow a person, you get ejected out the game, suspension 3 days. Like that, it's like they're making it more remarkable. Come up, shoot the three, let's score a lot of points, let's be excited. I started saying that with the All-Star game. Somebody comes to the hole to do a windmill dunk and you get out the way. No. The real All-Star games, in the 80s, you try to go to the hole, no, they blocking that off the board. You got to make it real, man. And so that's kind of, I don't watch the NBA. I don't know. I can name maybe one player on 4 teams. I'm out of sync. The hunger is not there. It's politics involved. They doing the FanDuel sports betting. It's not even, it's control. And now, like I said, they chose LeBron because Lenny Cook was done. And now King James, this the new slogan. We already seen King James run. He go to Miami. Now, again, he go to Miami, win with Dwayne Wade. But the people don't respect that. I said, no, he had to go there. So now this is, it's killing his image. Now he got to go back to Cleveland, right? They get Draymond out of there again. And, and now I think Kyrie was hurt. But now LeBron James come down, which no team did, a 3-1 to win a championship. It's a heroic comeback. He's the first to come down from 3-1, to he down 3 games to win. Come on, man, really? And we know Golden State got a better team. You ain't got Kyrie. Make it make sense. So they gave him that. So yeah, he went back to Cleveland. He won one. He grew. He came back. That I didn't, again, knowing what the NBA is, I understand. I'll say you got to go down the rabbit hole. So now you're going down this rabbit hole. So now you got LeBron James. He come back to Cleveland. He win one. Then they shoot to the Lakers and win one. They trying to, make this guy something he's not. Now he's the scoring title, not scoring, but with the most points in the league. He beat Kareem. So they trying to get his accolades up there. But now he getting old. You know what I'm saying? Now they have to knight a new team. Remember, they wanted D Rose to do it in 2011. But, I did a whole video on this. D Rose was told to fake that injury. Again, just like that Cavs, New York leak, this also leaked. And you can look this up. This leak from somebody from the NBA that D Rose was told to take a dive. That, he's going to have to injure himself. I heard be dealing with the Baphomet. When you look at LeBron James, look at his tattoos, look at the symbols that he throw up. It's no different than when I say the mob control boxing. They want Ali to take a dive. You know what I'm saying? And things in that nature. As far as I'm concerned, shit, they might have made Mike Tyson take a dive. Now that I look at it, because how the hell Buster Douglas beat him? Nobody bet on that fight. It was dealing with a lot of money. So now that I'm looking at everything, did Buster Douglas really beat Mike Tyson? You have to ask yourself that. Now that you're looking at a lot of, you're seeing like, you don't see it during the time. But now that you remove the veil, did Buster Douglas really beat Mike Tyson? Now, Mike Tyson did come when he was doing he had a little show that he was doing. And he showed to where he knocked Buster Douglas out and the count was real slow. But then when he fell out, when he got knocked down, that the count was real quick. So Mike Tyson was showing this about maybe 10 years ago. It's a clip that I seen when Mike Tyson used to go on the stage and he used to be talking. He had the earpiece on. I forgot, you know what I'm talking about, but you can find it on YouTube. But he said, did I really lose against Buster Douglas? So I guess he was telling what I was telling. Like, look, look at the count. When he knocked Buster Douglas down, he said the referee was counting slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. That ain't no real count. He said when he got knocked down, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's over with. Like, that's a different count, So, again, that's another, where you have to see is, based on the Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, based on the Nation of Islam, protecting Ali. Now we understand that they actually get into boxers, So with that fight, that was a bigger fight. Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. If Mike Tyson lose, a lot of people make a lot of money. A lot of money. There's nobody, not one person on earth, was thinking Buster Douglas was going to knock him out. Not just win, but knock him out. All this shit is politics, gang. And that just, you have to understand that sports is politics. And it's cool. It's cool. I'm just saying, like, to take it for what it is. But, so when you start, going down a rabbit hole and you start seeing this, why not, just like they, with football, they had Tom Brady. He used to go. Now they want to bring him Mahomes, it's everything is too perfect, bro. It's too perfect. And I get it now, I understand now, which is cool. I'm not mad at it. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's not for me, because when you find out something ain't what you thought it was, then you lose interest. If you married and you're in love with your wife and y'all been together 5 years and you got 2 kids by, and then something leaked and you come find out like, bro, she been cheating on you for the last 3 years. These not your kids. You take your DNA and find out the 2 kids ain't yours. Everything that you felt before then changes just that quick. You become a whole different person. Like, what? So these not my kids. You been cheating on me. The love wasn't real. That'll tear a person up. It's like now you don't trust her. You ready to move forward. You ready for divorce. You might ready to be on the live up, or whatever. But the situation changes. It's not, you can't work, you can't sleep, you depressed because everything that you seen was a lie. That's kind of how it is with this sports. Everything that you see is a lie. The NBA, the NFL, boxing, baseball, you know what I'm saying? And if you dig down a rabbit hole, then do your own research. As the Bible says, 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved. You have to go and you have to do your own research in each sport and pull up the NFL scandal, National Hockey League scandal, the NBA scandal, boxing scandals. You know what I'm saying? You're starting to see in each one of these, go with the wrestling. Start with the where the wrestler, I don't know, I don't know where it started with wrestling. But just go with the wrestling scandal. I know the Hulk Hogan, the Hulkamania, and all that. I know that all that was scandals. They started to talk. A lot of this stuff started to leak now, 20, 30 years later. So now, thinking about back to The Last Dance, which, you have to just understand that, hey, this thing was rigged the whole time. And so do that make The Last Dance authentic? Then nobody approve of it. And I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I'm not bashing Michael Jordan. I'm bashing the NBA and saying they helped Jordan get to where he was at. The triangle offense, they helped Jordan get to where he was at. He got raw talent, but the stage was set up and he got to play ball, And if you don't play ball, it's like, look, bro, we it's just like with the President of the United States. With the President of the United States, people think, man, Donald Trump doing this, he doing that. No, you have to play ball. It's world leaders that he had to listen to. He don't make no decisions. He's told what to do and he carry out, the plan. And you looking at him because you unlearned, you don't understand. It's a overhead over everything that's telling people what to do. And you go out there and do it. Let's get a black face, put them in the neighborhood. How this old lady pass out blankets? And what happened to the people? They got smallpox. Why? Because they trusted the old lady. Oh, she's been here 30 years. Hey, baby, come and get some, some hot coffee. And here, take this blanket. It's about to get cold this year. Thank you. And everybody catch, what that was syphilis? Was it syphilis? Yeah, everybody called syphilis. What's that? The Muskegon? The Muskegon, the Tuskegee Muskegon? No, look that up. I'm giving you facts. So, with that no longer being authentic, that's my reason of not dealing with the NBA. I played ball 27 years. I played, I got to fights, clothesline, bad, broken ankles. This is something that I love. And when I watch it, I want to see people compete and who really is the best man. Don't choose no champion. Let whoever, is great be great. Don't help them out with referees, give them a bad call, suspend them, technical fouls. You hurt the game like that. And now it's, they doing what they can to save the NBA because nobody's watching it because you done stirred the pot too much. You took away from where it's fun. So now you try to bring Jordan back in. Have him talk on NBC, say this and that to get the ratings up. But really, it's just people they're not watching it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's just not there. The market is down. Y'all done brought this Jew in, and this Jew done killed everything. So, I don't know, man. That's my stance on it, man. Just dig down the rabbit hole, and some people don't care. If you don't care, then that's fine. I'm just saying for me personally, it don't work. It don't work for me, It don't work for me. Once I found out wrestling was fake, guess what? No longer a fan. Once I found out basketball was rigged, fake, no longer a fan. And now that I'm older, I can start back, I can like, oh, wow, hold on. Oh, see, they didn't want, and now another thing, you remember with the Pippen, right? When the Hugh Hollins call, we sent somebody to the line, gave Pippen that bogus, that bogus foul or didn't call a foul or something like that. And that's what had the Nets win, and the Nets went over there and played Houston. They didn't want Pippen to win without Michael Jordan. So that's kind of something on Pippen end. Like, hey, we'll get you there, but he couldn't win without Michael Jordan. It all is all set up for the comeback of Michael Jordan, the superhero. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Michael Jordan come back to the Bulls. He win 3 more championships. Oh, this dude just the greatest. Like, this dude retired, played baseball, came back, and won. Pippen couldn't win without him. But if, the Bulls had a better team than the Knicks and Houston, And so that's kind of where it went. They don't let Pippen win because, no, we already got a hero for the Bulls. That's Jordan. If you win without Jordan, then they won without Jordan. That's what people going to be saying. Well, they won without Jordan. They didn't really need Jordan. He cool, but shit, they won with Pippen. So that's what people say, no, we can't let you win. Let's send it to New York, and then let's send it over there. Bro, all this is a game, bro. And then Michael Jordan specifically come back, and, when he come back, then here we go, you win 3 more in a row, grab Dennis Rodman. This an old team. I don't care what you say. If you old, you old. You can't outdo youth. They beat Seattle, beat Utah twice. But to get there, so I don't know, man. It was crazy, bro. He came back 72-10, the greatest record ever. They set, all this stuff is set as a stage, bro. Just do your research, man. That's what it is, man. I hope y'all enjoy this, man. I want to get back on here and chop it up with y'all, man. I love doing the content. I just been, I got a lot of things going on, man. So, I'm gonna chime in, man. I'm gonna be back chimed in. So y'all like the channel and subscribe and support it. You know what I'm saying? And again, you'll get more content like this. You know what I'm saying? But if you have any questions, you know what I'm saying, put it in the comments. I'm out.